The stars shone brightly in the black sea of space as the crew of the SS Horizon floated through the void. Captain Zara Monroe, an experienced spacefarer, had seen many oddities across the galaxy, but the distress signal that appeared on the monitors was unique. It had an unearthly pitch, almost like a melody of desperation. Whatever it was, someone needed help. "Captain, we're approaching the source of the distress signal," called Lieutenant Bowen, her navigator. "Looks like it's coming from a derelict ship, alien model, unknown origin." "Bring us in slowly," Monroe replied, her gaze fixed on the image on the view screen. She sensed an instinctual pull to investigate, to uncover the mystery waiting aboard the abandoned vessel. Docking with the alien ship was cautious but successful. As the Horizon's crew suited up and boarded, they discovered that the ship had sustained extensive damage. The corridors were dim and cluttered with strange, sleek designs that seemed otherworldly. However, in a room toward the back, they found two beings huddled together, clearly terrified but alive. The two aliens looked humanoid but had an ethereal beauty, with skin shimmering in soft, iridescent colors and eyes that seemed to reflect galaxies. They wore remnants of delicate robes, and though they looked fragile, there was a quiet resilience about them. One of them stepped forward, trembling but holding their head high. Their voice resonated in Monroe's mind more than her ears, as if it bypassed language altogether. "Please," the being communicated, "we were taken from our world, used, displayed, and then discarded when we were no longer of interest." The alien's words hit Monroe with a pang of empathy. She felt her fists clench as she realized that these beings had been trafficked, treated as objects of spectacle. She looked to her team, a silent understanding passing between them. No one would leave these two behind. "We'll bring you to safety," Monroe assured them. "No one's going to harm you anymore." Back on the Horizon, Monroe's crew tended to the aliens, learning that their names were Lyra and Soren. Over time, Lyra and Soren began to adjust to their new life. They'd been subjected to a society where their value was tied to their appearance, and they carried the scars of that exploitation. The crew of the Horizon gave them space to heal, offering simple kindnesses, sharing meals, playing music, and trading stories of Earth and its oddities. One evening, as the crew relaxed in the mess hall, Lyra quietly offered a song from her homeland. Her voice was soft, but it had a mesmerizing, otherworldly quality that silenced the room. Soren, encouraged by his friend's bravery, shared a story next, weaving words that painted vivid images of shimmering oceans and floating mountains from their home planet. The Horizon crew was enraptured. What began as a rescue mission turned into a profound exchange of cultures. Through their shared stories, songs, and laughter, both species discovered connections they hadn't expected, not just of pleasure, but of understanding, respect, and companionship. As the Horizon set course to return Lyra and Soren to their home planet, Monroe knew their lives had all been changed. What started as a rescue had grown into a bond that crossed galaxies, and each crew member felt it deeply. In the end, it wasn't just Lyra and Soren who found freedom. The humans, too, had discovered a new perspective, a reminder of what it meant to find kinship across the vast expanse of stars. The journey back to Lyra and Soren's home planet, Atar, took several weeks. The Horizon glided through the galaxy, and in that time, Monroe and her crew continued to learn from the two aliens. Lyra and Soren seemed more relaxed each day, and their gentle curiosity about human culture created moments of humor, surprise, and warmth that brought the crew closer together. One evening, Monroe found Lyra alone in the observation deck, gazing out at the stars. She approached quietly, and Lyra turned, her eyes holding a softness that Monroe hadn't seen before. "It's strange," Lyra began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Back on Atar, we were considered treasures. Our beauty and grace made us valuable, yet also isolated. We were admired, but never understood. Here, with you and your crew, we feel free to simply be." Monroe felt a pang of sadness, thinking about what Lyra must have endured. She nodded, taking a seat beside her. "Beauty can be both a gift and a cage," Monroe said thoughtfully. "But here on the Horizon, we see you and Soren for who you are, and that's far more than appearances." Lyra offered a small smile, and Monroe saw the spark of trust and hope that had been slowly growing in her. A few days later, Soren decided to join the engineering team in their daily rounds. Intrigued by the ship's technology, he was a natural learner, and his fascination brought a fresh energy to the crew. He even helped them fine-tune the ship's power systems, using knowledge of energy harmonics from his homeworld. His insights were simple but brilliant, and the engineers found themselves marveling at the blend of Ataran and human knowledge. As they worked together, Soren and the engineers formed a bond based on shared purpose and mutual respect. They learned to communicate in subtle ways, not needing many words, and Soren slowly came to realize that his talent was seen as contributions, not just curiosities. One evening, as they neared Atar's solar system, Lyra and Soren invited the crew to join them in a traditional Ataran celebration they called the Feast of Lights. The two aliens used the ship's ambient lights to replicate the dazzling, starlit festival held on their planet. The crew marveled as the lights danced in patterns that shimmered like the constellations, casting a soft glow across the room. As the lights flickered in sync with Lyra's song and Sora's graceful movements, the humans found themselves entranced. Feeling as though they were part of an ancient tradition, they sensed the depth of Atar's culture, the thousands of years of art and storytelling, and the history that Lyra and Soren carried within them. When the celebration came to an end, Monroe rose and addressed the group. "We've all gained something from knowing Lyra and Soren," she said, her voice filled with gratitude. "You've shown us a new way to understand beauty, resilience, and trust. We're honored to return you to your world, and we'll miss you." Lyra and Soren exchanged glances, their expressions reflecting the mixture of joy and sorrow they both felt. "Thank you, Captain," Soren replied, his voice full of warmth. "Your kindness has restored our faith in others. We'll carry these memories with us, always." As the horizon touched down on Atar, the crew gathered to bid farewell. Monroe and her team watched as Lyra and Soren stepped onto their home soil, their figures framed against the dawn of Atar's twin suns. The moment was bittersweet, yet fulfilling. As the ship ascended, Monroe felt a sense of pride. The mission had changed them all in ways they hadn't anticipated. Through their journey, they had discovered that true beauty lay in connection, resilience, and the willingness to see beyond appearances. And as the horizon once again sailed through the stars, each member of its crew carried forward a piece of Atar in their hearts, a reminder of the friends they'd made, and the bond that bridged the distance between worlds. The horizon returned to the open stars, the planet of Atar fading behind them. Yet even as they drifted further away, each crew member could still feel the echoes of their time. With Lyra and Soren, a new awareness that shaped their perspectives, the memories of the Feast of Lights, the haunting beauty of Lyra's song, and the vibrant energy of Soren's technical curiosity lingered like stardust in their minds. Captain Monroe, too, felt changed. She had always seen her crew as family, but after the rescue, she felt more acutely the fragility and value of the connections they shared. Her outlook on interspecies relationships, even diplomacy, had deepened. Days passed uneventfully until one morning, as the crew went about their routines, an unexpected signal appeared on the monitors. It was faint but unmistakable, a holographic message from Atar. Monroe immediately gathered the crew to view it together. In the hologram, Lyra and Soren stood before a crowd of Atarans. They looked radiant, yet humble, a gracefulness about them that had always been present, but was now joined by a sense of pride and belonging. Lyra spoke, her voice carrying through the speakers with a resonance that held the room in silence. "To our friends aboard the horizon," Lyra began, "we wish to share the news of the change you inspired here on Atar. Your kindness and friendship showed us a new path, one that is now shaping our people's future." Soren continued, "We have become ambassadors in a coalition that seeks to end the exploitation of our people and protect those like us across the galaxy. The Feast of Lights we shared with you was broadcast throughout Atar, and we've seen an outpouring of solidarity, compassion, and unity. Many are now joining in the cause." As the hologram shifted to display images of Ataran gatherings and communities, Monroe and her crew could see how their mission had impacted the lives of others. They saw young Atarans, their faces hopeful, gathering for what looked like peaceful demonstrations. Artistic displays filled public spaces, evoking the ethereal beauty of the Festival of Lights, symbolizing a new chapter of Ataran culture, one focused on equality, empowerment, and freedom. The message ended with Lyra and Soren back on screen, their faces warm with gratitude. "Though we are light years away," Lyra said, her gaze unwavering, "we carry your friendship with us always. You are, forever, part of Atar." When the hologram faded, the room remained silent for a moment as the crew processed the weight of the message. They hadn't simply rescued two beings, they had touched a planet, perhaps even a galaxy, in ways they couldn't have imagined. Later that evening, as the horizon drifted through the starry expanse, Captain Monroe stood alone on the observation deck, gazing out into the universe. For the first time in her long career, she felt the true, immeasurable impact of their work, not just as explorers, but as allies, friends, and bridges across cultures. With a deep breath, she made a silent promise to seek out more opportunities for connection, to continue the legacy that had begun with two frightened but resilient beings on a derelict ship. They were on a journey that transcended the stars, fueled by a shared dream of unity. As she watched the stars, Monroe felt a quiet certainty. The galaxy was vast, but with each new connection, it grew a little closer, a little brighter, and they were ready to keep building those bridges, one mission at a time. The stars continued their eternal dance outside the horizon, as the crew began to settle back into their routines. Yet, the aftermath of their mission remained a shared, unspoken bond. Though they had returned to their daily tasks, their hearts were still tethered to Lyra and Soren, to the planet of Atar and the change that had been set in motion. Months passed, and life on the horizon seemed to settle into a predictable rhythm. That was until a new signal appeared, not a distress call, but a beacon of something far more profound. It was from a distant system, a planet with a civilization that had never before been encountered by humans. The transmission was encoded in a mixture of languages and symbols that defied easy interpretation, but the tone was clear, an invitation, and one that appeared to come directly from the Atarans. Captain Monroe's heart skipped a beat as she read the signal's final line. "We seek to know more of the humans who helped us see the stars." The message was brief, but its meaning was undeniable. Lyra and Soren, having catalyzed a cultural movement on Atar, have reached out to other civilizations not just as emissaries of their own world, but as representatives of something larger, a call for unity, for understanding, for the kind of cross-species alliance that the horizon had pioneered. Atar's message was an invitation to speak with an interstellar coalition that included several species, all drawn together by the example of Atar's new path. Monroe felt a deep pull within her. This was more than just diplomacy. It was a chance to be part of something transformative. The galaxy was awakening, and they were being called to play a role in shaping its future. With no hesitation, she ordered the crew to prepare for the journey. Weeks later, the horizon dropped out of hyperspace, arriving at the outer rim of the Coalition's meeting world, a planet called Erixus. It was a stunning, vibrant place, filled with exotic landscapes and architectural marvels that seemed to blur the line between organic and synthetic. Massive floating structures hovered in the sky, and the air shimmered with bioluminescent plants, casting an otherworldly glow over the horizon. As the crew made their way through the landing bay, they were greeted by an eclectic group of representatives from different species, all wearing ceremonial attire that reflected the diversity of their worlds. Some had skin made of crystalline material, others had wings that sparkled in the light, while some had multiple limbs, each moving with fluid precision. Despite their differences, there was a shared aura of respect and anticipation in the air. Lyra and Soren were there, too, standing proudly at the forefront, their eyes gleaming with the same hope and strength that had first touched Monroe's heart. They were no longer the frightened beings they had been on the horizon. They were leaders now, emissaries of a new age. "Captain Monroe," Lyra greeted her with a nod, her voice carrying an undertone of gratitude. "Welcome. The galaxy has already begun to change because of what we started together." Monroe smiled, her heart swelling with pride. She could see it now. The hope and potential they had sparked had spread far beyond just Atar. She and her crew were not only part of a revolution, they were part of a living, breathing movement. The Coalition's leaders welcomed Monroe and her crew into their fold, not as diplomats or guests, but as equals, as catalysts, who have already proven the power of cooperation, compassion, and shared vision. Over the course of the next few weeks, the Horizon's crew would engage in discussions with leaders of the various species, sharing human perspectives on cooperation, conflict resolution, and unity. But more than that, they learn it from others, absorbing wisdom from species who had long ago transcended their internal conflicts, and learn it to live in harmony with the cosmos. At the heart of this newfound alliance was something Monroe had not anticipated, a deep exploration of the human spirit. As humans, they had always felt like outsiders in the grand expanse of the universe. But now, they were finding their place not by conquering or imposing their will, but by offering their strength through kindness, humility, and the simple act of seeing others for who they truly were. One evening, as the discussions reached a pivotal moment, the leaders of the coalition gathered in a grand hall, illuminated by the glow of distant nebulae. Lyra and Soren stood beside Captain Monroe, their hands clasped, ready to formally announce a new treaty, a treaty of alliance, understanding, and mutual support between the peoples of the galaxy. Monroe stepped forward to speak, her voice steady and clear. This treaty represents more than just an agreement between worlds, she said. It's a commitment to see one another not for our differences, but for our shared humanity. Our species, though diverse, share the same stars, the same sky, and the same dreams. The hall was silent for a moment, before a ripple of applause spread across the room. The applause not just for Monroe and her crew, but for the entire coalition, a celebration of a new era. As the ceremony concluded and the delegates began to mingle, Monroe found herself reflecting on the journey that had brought them here. What had started as a mission to rescue two alien beings had become something far greater. The connections they had forged, the alliances they had nurtured, were creating ripples across the galaxy. They were no longer just explorers. They were part of a new movement, one that would shape the future of countless worlds. The stars no longer seemed so distant. They had become a shared horizon, one that the Horizon and its crew were proud to sail toward, with new friends, new allies, and the unshakable belief that the universe was meant to be explored not with conquest, but with understanding and compassion.